beautiful young woman with big dreams and a bright future, was senselessly murdered. It is a tragedy that her family had to wait 26 years for justice. It is a tragedy that you, Mr. Flores, continue to compound their heartbreak by not allowing them to bring Kristin home. I think it's important to acknowledge Kristin Smart and to remember the extraordinary person that Kristin was and her lasting impact of her short but meaningful life, and that what it had on those who were fortunate enough to know her. I read the voluminous impact letters submitted by those who knew and loved Kristin. Through your words and memories, you have given me the great honor of getting to know Kristin as well. Kristin Smart was a bright, caring, and loving daughter, sister, and friend. She was an adventurous soul with dreams of traveling the world. Kristin always approached life through the lens of what was possible. To her, every dream was within reach. Her family members remember Kristin as their Sunday morning omelet chef, a great big sister who cheered her siblings on at swim meets, gave them pep talks, made them desserts, and gave the best hugs. Kristin loved children and was a great babysitter. She loved the beach, water sports, aloha shirts, and reggae music. But first and foremost, Kristin was a smart, loving, kind, and beautiful person. On May 25th, 1996, Kristin's life was suddenly and violently extinguished. What began as a missing persons report turned into a decades-long nightmare for Kristin Smart's family. And I don't think anyone can truly understand the nightmare that you have endured. Your love, strength, and tenacity has bound you as in a family and has enabled you to endure this senseless tragedy. This tragedy not only devastated the Smart family, it has impacted the communities of San Luis Obispo and Cal Poly. It has scarred the community, and the wounds caused to the community are still raw. I received numerous letters from those in those communities regarding the lasting effects that this tragedy has had on them. A pervasive theme throughout these letters was the loss of innocence and the loss of a feeling of safety because of the knowledge that evil does exist in the world and the fear that if something happened this close to home, how can they be safe? Nothing that I say can remove the almost 3 decades of loss, anger, frustration, and sadness that Kristin Smart's family and friends have endured. Kristin's murder has impacted every facet of their life and affected them profoundly. Sentencing does not generally bring closure. There is no closure to Kristin's family and friends who have suffered 26 years of pain and are still unable to properly lay their loved one to rest. Sentencing Paul Flores today does not mean that not a holiday, birthday, wedding, or other joyous occasion will go by without the pain of Kristin not being there. What this sentencing will provide is accountability. Mr. Flores, you have been a cancer to society. In May 1996, you maliciously murdered Kristin Smart. You took advantage of her while she was in a vulnerable state. You volunteered to make sure she got home safely to her dormitory, only to take her life. For 25 years, you have lived free in the community, while Kristin's family has lived a nightmare. Your continued predatory behavior in the years that you were free, sexually assaulting women who were either drugged or intoxicated to the point where they could not consent. This predatory behavior has spanned your adult life. It is necessary to remove you from society so that you can no longer prey on and victimize women. You deserve to spend every day you have left behind bars. The defendant is statutorily ineligible for probation pursuant to Penal Code Section 1203E3 and probation will be denied. You are committed to the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation as to count 1, a violation of Penal Code Section 187A, murder in the first degree, to the maximum sentence that I can impose by law, an indeterminate term of 25 years to life. Custody credits are 697 actual days. You are ordered to pay restitution in an amount to be determined. The court reserves jurisdiction over the issue of restitution. You are ordered to provide specimens of saliva and/or blood as directed pursuant to Penal Code Section 296 and Penal Code Section 1524.1. Pursuant to California Penal Code Section 290.006A, you are ordered to register as a sex offender for life. The court finds that the murder of Kristin Smart was for the purpose of sexual gratification and sexual compulsion. The murder occurred during the commission of or attempted commission of a rape. The 1108 evidence presented in this case was that this was not an isolated incident and that the defendant has sexually assaulted other women. You are ordered to pay a restitution fine pursuant to Penal Code Section 1202.4b in the amount of $300 times the number of years times the number of felony counts for a total of $10,000, the statutory maximum. Pursuant to Penal Code Section 1202.45, an additional fine in the same amount will be imposed but suspended unless parole is revoked. You are ordered to pay a court security fee of $40 and a criminal conviction fee of $30. Mr. Flores, it is my duty at this time to advise you of your appellate rights. You have the absolute right to appeal from the judgment of this court in imposing sentence today. That means if you wish to appeal, you must file a written notice of your intention to appeal within 60 days of today. An appeal not filed within 60 days shall be void and have no effect. The notice must be in writing and signed by you or your attorney or both. It must specify what you are appealing from, whether it is the whole judgment or just part of the judgment. If you appeal and do not have the financial ability to retain the services of an attorney to represent you on appeal, the appellate authorities will appoint counsel to represent you. In that regard, it is your obligation to keep the appellate authorities advised at all times of your location so that they can be in touch with you to advise you of your appointed counsel. Mr. Flores was remanded into the custody of the sheriff for the delivery to the Department of Corrections forthwith. And before we conclude the sentencing hearing, I just want to make one additional comment on the record. During my summary of the evidence earlier, the court indicated that there was a DNA match that was part of the reason why, or summary for my denial of the judgment of acquittal. That information was discussed in limine. It was not part of the trial. It has absolutely no impact of my view on the case or the appropriateness of the denial of the motions that were filed by the defense. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. So I'm going to have this side of the courtroom. You can exit first.
Shall I ask for Boston? I go. Yeah, I'm just getting confused. Yeah. Go downstairs. Will you? Oh, no, right there.
How much left in the car?
You need to go down to the basement
They're going to watch.
and wait. They're going to open the door.
They're going to stay with
What's that?
Yeah.
What, basement or the elevator?
Yeah,
They gotta
go
get
down the
away,
hall.
I'm having trouble hearing on all.
No worries.
There's a door where you
The family's going to remain to their transportation has to take, okay?
episode every week on TV.
And just,
And then somebody will walk on the hall in the bus.